This video is going to be another in my How to Win More Matches in Fortnite series, and this video is going to focus all on the building aspect of Fortnite, which is something that's very unique about Fortnite and something that separates it from all other Battle Royale games. So if you've played a lot of PUBG or a lot of H1Z1, you might not be accustomed to the building aspect of Fortnite, and you might overlook that because of your experience with those past games. Building is definitely something newer players neglect, but I think also if you're someone who's transitioning from another Battle Royale game, or you have a lot of experience in another Battle Royale game, you might overlook it because some of the other aspects are so similar. In the late game, when the circle is very small, there could be very little cover in some cases, so you want to be able to build some cover for yourself so you aren't just like a sitting duck waiting to be picked off. When the circle is very small, if you don't have cover, it's very easy to find you because, like I said, the circle's small. So you want to have some cover for yourself, and there's some easy things you could do to construct decent buildings that will help you survive in these late game situations. And if you see any of my late game gameplay or gameplay I post where I'm nearing the end of the game, or I generally or if I win the game, it's generally because of my cover and I use my cover effectively. And if I didn't have that cover, I likely would have died, often punishing players who don't have cover or who didn't build their cover necessarily correctly. Before I get into all of the strategies upon building cover and how I like to do it, I'm going to explain that there are 3 different building materials: wood, brick, and metal. You get wood for cutting down trees, brick from cutting rocks, and metal from metal objects like cars, metal walls, metal light posts. There's a bunch of metal things in the game. It's not as easy to get as wood or brick is, but that's why it's the strongest thing in the game. It's because it's the hardest to get. You can also find building materials in stacks of 30s just lying around in buildings, or in chests that you might loot, or even the supply drops that you might loot. You can find building materials in those, and they generally come in stacks of 30. Each building piece you can build consumes 10 pieces, I'm pretty sure, regardless if it's a wall, a floor piece, stairs, it doesn't matter. It all consumes 10 pieces, so if you find a stack of 30, that's 3 pieces, things you can build. So you want to have a good amount of building materials, that way you can build a decent amount of structures, and if the circle moves away from you, you want to be able to build a structure again. These materials have varying levels of strength. Wood is the weakest, obviously, and metal is the strongest, and bricks are in the middle. Bricks is pretty good because it's easy to get and it's stronger, whereas metal is very strong, but it's also kind of hard to get because there aren't that many cars in the game. And a lot of the cars that you can destroy are kind of in bad areas where you're putting yourself at a serious risk for destroying it. Farm material. I think you should farm materials early on in the game. You should destroy trees, rocks, and any cars in your starting area to have a good baseline of materials that you can use to build if you come into a situation where you need it, and that can hopefully last you to the point where you'll be able to pick off some people and you can pick up their materials. If everybody has a decent amount of materials, if you kill someone and you get a decent amount of materials, you have a good collection of materials at this point. So I like to start with a good amount, and once you kill people you can start getting it that way, but you don't want to rely solely upon killing people because sometimes you might make it into the late game without really even running into anybody. It's possible, even if you're not trying to play overly passive, it's possible that just everyone happened to spawn away from you. Don't build buildings in air. You'll see some people do this, and all someone needs to do is destroy the piece that is actually connected to the ground in some way, and your building will fall. I'll put an example from a recent game I played. You can see here, we take out one piece of their brick structure, and it collapses, and we're able to easily clean them up. Alright, you see this first brick piece connecting it to the main?
Yeah.
If we destroy that, the rest should fall.
Okay.
Go.
Fucking RIP to them.
So just don't build things floating in air. That's something I see a lot of newer players do, and it's very easy to punish them for. In the late game, I generally make square houses with a wooden staircase. Just 4 walls and then a wooden staircase up, and the staircase allows you to push up past your cover and see over it, and then also you can head glitch this. You can back off on the third case and probably go about halfway, and then you can use the third-person camera to see pretty much everything around you without actually even exposing yourself. It's pretty stupid that third person exists, but that's how the game is, so you can abuse the camera. Everyone else is going to do it, so you might as well. So yeah, you see in the late games, I'd probably have a clip here. Generally just a square house I'm in, and then a wooden staircase that I use, and that's how I just come up. I have a head glitch in most situations, and I'm able to easily see over my cover without putting myself in any sort of risk, and it's very easy to play from this situation. It's super obvious that you're there, because these wooden materials don't exist anywhere else in the game. If you build a wall, nothing else in the game looks exactly like that wall, so if you build that wall, someone knows that someone had to build that. If you build stairs, someone knows that someone had to build that. You're kind of giving your position away, but hopefully the benefit you get from your building is worth it. And the same goes the other way. If you see some staircases, you probably know that someone's there. If you see someone build a staircase up a mountain, it's likely that someone went up that mountain. It's likely to still be there. So if you see someone's house that they built, just be wary of it because they're likely still in it. They wouldn't have just built it randomly. I guess some people would, but it's very likely they're playing around it in some way. But like I said, I like to make square houses with a wooden thing in the middle. If I'm playing duos or squads, I make a rectangular house with 2 staircases on either side. That way we just have 2 sides we can poke out at, and we don't have to be right on top of each other and we aren't getting collateraled. I make these houses small because they get the job done and they provide the cover advantage versus players who aren't building, and they provide like cover advantage versus players that are building. And if the circle moves, you're using very few materials. Like I said, The house I build takes 40 steel and 10 wood. That's it. That's not very much, and it's very easy to get that amount in the game, especially if you've killed players and taken their materials. Like I said, if you're in the late game, you've probably done that, but you should still farm some up in the early game. So even if the circle continues to move, you don't have to like worry about building your house too early. You don't have to worry about like, oh, I'm going to wait until the circle moves again, and then like maybe you die in that situation because the circle's already pretty small. You can be more like liberal with your houses because you have so much material. So I definitely think you should farm it up and build these small houses that don't consume a lot of material. Some people build like really big houses that consume a lot of material, and then they have to move away from it when the circle moves, and then they have nothing to build a new house, and they're just stuck out in the open being a sitting duck, like I said. So you shouldn't build big houses unless there's a very specific reason for it, and you're like super confident that the circle is going to rotate to you. I mainly use wood just for staircases in my house, or just staircases in general if I need to climb a mountain or climb up to a roof or something. That's generally what I use wood for. As itself, like building walls with wood is very like trash. It's not good at all. They could easily shoot through it. Even like the base AR can destroy it in like 3 to 4 shots, I think. So don't use wood for your walls. You're going to be easily punished for it. That's another thing new players do, is they use wood too much. Just use wood for your staircases and maybe your floor if you need a floor for some reason. That's what I use wood for because it's so weak. You can build around down teammates in a situation where you feel you need to get to revive, but also being pressured by enemy players. Say your teammate gets sniped from long range, just put a few like steel walls up, revive him, and you're going to be able to revive it before the enemy can break through the wall, because I think it takes 4 sniper shots to break through the steel wall, so you should be able to easily get him up in that time. So that's one thing you could do, is build around teammates when you need to revive them. You can build cover in open areas if you need it. Like say you see some people in a distance and you know a fight is going to occur, just build a wall for yourself. That way you have a little bit of cover, even if like you are out in the open, or maybe there's some trees you can use as cover. This wall might give you an advantage just because you have slightly more cover than the enemy team. You can also build around supply drops if you want to capture those. It's pretty easy to know where the supply drop is coming down at because of the blue like thing on the ground. So you can build around that, and that way it's encased in your like materials, so it's easier for you to take and you're not as exposed when getting it. Most people will probably know you're there, and it's going to be a pain in the ass getting out, but at least you'll be able to get your materials and maybe make a decision later on, and you'll just be safer, even though you will have to deal with being out in the open at some point. There's many more ways you could use these building materials in Fortnite. These are just some examples that I thought of in my thought process behind building, but it's something that you really need to focus on and find out what works for you to really like, I guess, capitalize on the mechanic, because it is a mechanic in the game, and it's something you should definitely be taking advantage of because other players are going to be taking advantage of it. If you're going to have no cover while I have cover and it's just us in a 1v1, like in the last circle, it's pretty small. I like my chances against that pretty well. So you should definitely be building houses, especially in the late game. I don't really build it like in the early to mid game. It's really just when there's very few players and you get into those circles where there really aren't any cover at all. In the early and mid game, I like to be more stealthy and not give my position away. But that's going to do it for this video. If you think you know anything else about building that I didn't cover in this video, comment that down in the comments below so that a viewer could see those comments and maybe learn more things from it. But that being said, thank you for watching. If you liked this video, please enjoy it and subscribe for more Fortnite videos.